Hello, everybody, and welcome to more Political Excess. It is time for yet another deep dive. I'm trying to get through all these. It's hard work, but this time let's take a look at Pennsylvania governor. And as always, let's start on Ballotpedia and get a little bit of background. The incumbent governor, Democrat Tom Wolf, is term limited out, so it is an open seat. The Democratic nominee is Josh Shapiro. He is currently serving as the Pennsylvania Attorney General. And his opponent on the Republican side is Doug Mastriano. Mastriano currently serves in the Pennsylvania State Senate. So let's go down here and take a look at the primaries. Josh Shapiro was unopposed in his primary, so he got 100% of the vote. And Doug Mastriano did have a competitive primary. He won with 42% of the vote over second place finisher Lou Barletta with 22.7%. There are also some third-party candidates on the ballot as well. And down here are some candidate profiles that Ballotpedia fills in if you want to get a little bit of background about these candidates. And let's go down and see how this race is rated. Cook Political Report has it at likely Democratic, Inside Elections has it at lean, and Larry Sabato has it at likely. My own rating is lean Democratic, and the current state of this race is a little bit up in the air, but Josh Shapiro has consistently had a clear-cut lead over the entire summer and up to now. Some polls have had him over double digits. He is already well known. He's won statewide. He has that going for him. Doug Mastriano, he's been painted as too extreme, too far right, but he definitely does have a strong base of support. He does have a military background, so that is going to help him. He had somewhat of a competitive primary to get through, and then he had to start building his brand. He got started slowly. He recently started putting out some ads. This is the guy that Democrats wanted to face in the general election. They think he would be weaker, too fringe, and thus easily beatable. And as I said, so far things do seem to be favoring Shapiro. The big unknown is this final 2 weeks. Doug Mastriano is definitely the kind of candidate that voters are not going to want to say they're supporting when they talk to a pollster. So I would imagine there's at least some hidden Mastriano vote in here. And then if you take into account previous polling errors, Doug Mastriano could potentially be right back in this thing. It's a little bit of a stretch right now, but it's not out of the question as we head into these final couple of weeks. If we go down here a little bit farther, we could take a look at the campaign finance, and we could see that Josh Shapiro is vastly outraising and outspending Doug Mastriano. So let's go down farther and see how the counties are trending on a presidential level. This shows us that 47.2% of the population lives in 10 counties that are solid Democratic, and that's defined as having voted for the Democrat for president in the last 3 elections. On the other end, 41.7% of the population lives in 53 counties that are solid Republican. The remaining counties are somewhere in between or trending one way or the other. So let's go down here and take a look at the county map. And remember, the shading does not indicate margins. It just indicates if they supported the Democrat or the Republican for president in the last 1, 2, or 3 elections. You can hover over any of these counties to actually take a look at the margins. And let's start in the most populous county, and that is Philadelphia. And this is extremely lopsided. Over 81% supported Joe Biden last time. However, if you'll notice, this is actually trending toward the right from 2012. Donald Trump did a little bit better than he did in 2016, and a little bit better than Romney did before that in 2012. A lot of these counties outside of Philadelphia have trended toward the left. Chester County, that did support Romney 10 years ago, but Joe Biden won that very comfortably last time 2 years ago. Montgomery has trended a little bit toward the left as well. And Bucks County, that has also trended slightly toward the left. So if a Republican wants to win statewide in Pennsylvania, doing just a little bit better in these counties would go a long way. Now all the way over here in Allegheny County, that's where Pittsburgh is. That's another county that Biden won by 20 points, and it has very slightly trended toward the left. Some of these other counties in northeastern Pennsylvania, Monroe, Lackawanna, and Luzerne counties, those are some areas where Republicans can potentially make some more gains. And all the way up here in Erie County, that went big for Obama in 2012 with over 57% support. Trump actually flipped it and won it slightly in 2016, but then he did nearly lose it 2 years ago. So that is going to be a county we're going to want to watch and see which way it goes in this governor's election, and then, of course, in 2024. Now, as for the red counties, there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are very deep red. Some of them already went for Mitt Romney by large margins 10 years ago, but then they have shifted much, much more substantially to the right, giving Donald Trump easily over 70% support. Some of these counties even used to be blue back in the day, in the 90s, but the political polarization has really hit Pennsylvania, The urban-rural divide is pretty stark. Some very deep blue areas and some very deep red areas. And it is one of the top-tier swing states at this point. Let's move on to YouTube and see what they've got on their channels. Here is Josh Shapiro's. He doesn't have anything super recently, but he does have a steady stream of ads from 1 or 2 months ago. And here is Doug Mastriano's channel. As I said, he's finally putting some ads out, and he does have some other media appearances, and he does have some 12-hour videos on here. I guess those are related to his campaign. And we could also take a look at their official campaign websites. Here is Josh Shapiro's if you want to see where he stands on the issues, see any of his upcoming events, or donate to his campaign. And here's Doug Mastriano's site if you want to read more about him, see where his campaign is at, or send him some money to support his cause. How about any debates? Well, as of now, I don't believe there are going to be any debates. This news article is a few weeks old, and it just discusses how they can't agree to the terms for a debate. I know Mastriano wants to have appropriate moderators and an appropriate forum. Josh Shapiro has some of his own requests as well. Personally, I don't think Josh Shapiro really wants to debate Doug Mastriano. I think Shapiro thinks he's in the lead, but to me that doesn't make any sense. I think there should definitely be a couple of debates, especially if Mastriano is the candidate Democrats wanted to go up against. So that is disappointing. There probably won't be a debate unless something changes here at the last minute. But let's move on to Wikipedia and take a look at the endorsements. And here are Josh Shapiro's endorsements, and he has an absolute ton of them. He has all the major establishment backings, tons of local officials, labor unions. That does seem like it would be hard to go up against, but here's Doug Mastriano's. He has the Donald Trump endorsement. He has Ron DeSantis, Dr. Oz. And then here are the ones who declined to endorse. This is pretty much all Republicans, including Pat Toomey, the incumbent U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. But let's go down to the polling, and in the aggregate, on Real Clear Politics, as of the time of this video, Josh Shapiro is up 9.6%, 50.8 to 41.2. Let's go down to the individual polls. So Josh Shapiro is leading in every one of these. Plenty of them have him over 50%. Doug Mastriano is under 40 in some of these. And there's no shortage of polls, really. Some of them are a little bit closer, but for the most part, Doug Mastriano is badly trailing Josh Shapiro. And let's compare these poll results to how they stacked up to 2018 in the last governor's election. And in that race, Tom Wolf won with almost 58% of the vote. Scott Wagner had almost 41%. It's kind of a mixed bag on these polls. Some of them did underestimate Wolf. Probably Scott Wagner was underestimated a little bit more. Tom Wolf did win this very easily by about 17 points. But these polls were really not overly accurate. And finally, let's get on Predicted and take a look at the markets. And there, the Democratic Party, Josh Shapiro, is at 77 cents. Doug Mastriano, the Republican Party, is at 24 cents. And that's been more or less steady throughout the last 3 months. So what's the conclusion here? Well, I'd be hard-pressed to ignore all of the polls that show Josh Shapiro ahead by quite a bit, even over double digits in some of them. I realize that past polls, especially in Pennsylvania, have underestimated Republican support. Donald Trump was definitely supposed to lose Pennsylvania in 2016, and he ended up winning it. 2 years ago, most of the polls greatly underestimated Trump again. So it's hard to say that because the polls were off then, that they will definitely be off now. However, I will say Doug Mastriano is similar to Donald Trump. He's regarded as controversial. There's all kinds of smears about him. Certain criticisms are legitimate, but as usual, I think they go way overboard. And that is going to make people not want to say that they support Mastriano openly. I think there's going to be a shy Mastriano vote. Now, it's hard to say that that would be something like 8 points. I could see 3, 4, maybe 5 points. And that could make this race competitive, but Mastriano would still lose. Josh Shapiro is basically the safe choice, the status quo. He's going to protect your abortion rights and all the threats to democracy. He's hitting those issues hard. Outside of those, he doesn't really have much to run on. Inflation, crime, immigration, those are all issues that are going to favor Mastriano. Mastriano is not trying to present himself as a polished politician. A big theme of his campaign is freedom and patriotism and restoring integrity to elections and democracy. And on the other side, the Democrats view him as the greatest threat to democracy and all those other issues. It really does underscore the political polarization that is prevalent in Pennsylvania and throughout the country. If Mastriano wins, the Democrats have nobody to blame but themselves. That is who they wanted to face. I do hope whoever wins, there's no discrepancies with any of the ballots. I do wish there were debates, but this is a really fascinating race to watch. I thought it would be closer than this at this point. We'll see if it actually ends up getting really close at the end and there's a surprise surge at the end for Doug Mastriano, or if Josh Shapiro is going to cruise to win by double digits. Anyway, that is a deep dive into the Pennsylvania governor's election. Let me know in the comments, are you following this race? What do you think is going to happen? Are the polls going to come out as soon as I make this video, showing it neck and neck? Let me know down below. And if you enjoy this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.